The Dark Ages. The term Dark Ages referred to the period of European history from the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE to the beginning of the High Middle Ages in the 11th century. A lack of written records and cultural and technological advancements characterizes this period. That is why the Middle Ages are called the Dark Ages. 1. The fall of the Western Roman Empire was caused by a combination of factors, including invasions by barbarian tribes, economic instability, and political corruption. The empire's collapse led to a period of chaos and instability throughout Europe, and many of the institutions of Roman civilization, such as law, education, and government, were lost. During the Dark Ages, Europe was plagued by invasions, wars, famine, disease, and poverty. Many towns and cities were abandoned, and the population declined. Literacy rates dropped, and the level of education was low. The Catholic Church played a significant role in the Dark Ages, providing spiritual guidance and some degree of continuity during the period of upheaval. The Church also provided education, healthcare, and social services, and monasteries served as centers of learning and preservation of knowledge. Despite the challenging conditions of the Dark Ages, some cultural achievements were made. The Vikings, for example, made significant advances in shipbuilding and navigation, and the Moors in Spain made advances in mathematics, astronomy, and medicine. The Dark Ages have long been viewed as a period of cultural and economic decline, but recent scholarship has challenged this traditional view. Some historians argue that the period was lighter than previously thought, and that many positive developments occurred during this time. In conclusion, the Dark Ages were a complex and multifaceted period in European history that has been characterized by instability, invasions, and economic decline. However, it was also a time of cultural achievements and the emergence of new social and political structures. The period's legacy on the modern world is still debated and may be less dark than it's commonly thought.
Debate on the Middle Ages, the Dark Ages. Who calls the Middle Ages the Dark Ages in Europe? 1. The term Dark Ages was first used by the Italian scholar and historian Francesco Petrarca, who was also known as Petrarch. Being Italian, Petrarch was heavily influenced by the superiority of the ancient Roman Empire. He used the phrase Dark Ages to criticize Latin literature. However, the term Dark Ages is no longer used by anyone, as it is used to represent the period after the fall of the Roman Empire in the Western world. Some historians consider the Dark Ages from 400 to 1000 AD. Historians do not use it and instead prefer to refer to it as the Early Middle Ages. Jacob Burckhardt, in his book The Civilization of the Renaissance in Italy, does not directly refer to the Middle Ages as a Dark Ages, but portrays it as a period of cultural and intellectual backwardness, church-based and orthodox. One of the main arguments for calling the Middle Ages the Dark Ages is that the material to know the history of this period is very limited and insufficient. This limitation has darkened this era. The other argument for calling the Dark Ages is that at that time, everything in human life revolved around religion. Everything was dominated by religion. People couldn't think beyond religion. There was no significant progress in the fields of science, literature, and culture in Western Europe during this period. There was no law in this era. The popes controlled everything they wanted. Who did not call the Middle Ages the Dark Ages in Europe? There are many modern and some ancient scholars who have opposed the idea that Europe did not call the Middle Ages the Dark Ages. Modern historians, in particular, consider it misleading and underestimated. Notable among them are Peter Brown, The World of Late Antiquity, AD 150 to 750. He shows that this is not a time of darkness, but a bright time for cultural, political, and religious change. Henry Pirenne. He rejected the idea of the Dark Ages entirely. In his Pirenne thesis, he said that the Islamic conquest had caused the collapse of the Mediterranean trade, and Europe had taken a new direction economically. Marc Bloch, French historian of the famous Annales school. He thinks that in the Middle Ages there were profound changes in rural life, social system, economy, etc., so it is wrong to call it the Dark Ages. Kenneth Clark did not call Europe the Dark Ages. Rather, he, in his famous work Civilization, A Personal View, 1969, book and BBC documentary series, depicted the Middle Ages as an epoch of the development of culture, art, and architecture. Although Europe has been called the Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, this nomenclature is controversial and not entirely accurate. Early Middle Ages. During this period, science, culture, and economics did not progress in Europe, but there were improvements in some areas. For example, the monasteries carried out the study of knowledge and compilation of epigraphies, which laid the foundations of the later Renaissance era. The universities that were established as institutions of education and higher education in Europe in the Middle Ages still exist today and are world-renowned. So, if you think closely, the Middle Ages cannot be called the Dark Ages, because in the Middle Ages, institutions like universities, cities, and chivalry were developed. Although these were controlled by religions, they reflected the glorious chapter of the Middle Ages. And from the point of view of history, no era is a dark age, because in every age something new is found than in the previous era. In view of the above discussion, we cannot call the Middle Ages the Dark Ages. It can be called the Age of Religion rather than the Age of Darkness.